Bobby Kotick, you love to hate them. The guy is zero social media, by the way, in case you were wondering. People hate this guy, and rightfully so. Yeah, let's see it.
Welcome to Active Blizzard Castle, former home of King Bobby Kotick, now brought to ruin. When insatiable greed caused Active Blizzard Castle to fall,
oh my god, StarCraft 1, Diablo 2, wow!
Pieces that once made it great had to go somewhere. Many who were lost found a new home over there, taking the pieces of a once great kingdom and turning it into an empire the likes of which we've never seen. This is the untold story of Activision Blizzard and how they accidentally created one of their greatest enemies. The year is 2008, when Blizzard Entertainment was the golden boy of gaming.
Oh my
They were
God.
known for putting their players first.
It was so different back then. Chat, when game devs actually cared, man. You'd have patches all the time. You'd have bug fixes. You'd get customer support instantly.
Taking a really long time to ensure their games were good. Really good. Unsurprisingly, this rockstar reputation earned them a cult following, and every budding game developer during this time...
I've never really heard of actual... back in the day, cons were very generalized. BlizzCon being BlizzCon, which is dedicated to Blizzard alone, it was really rare. There was no Minecraft con or whatever. It was Anime Con or VidCon or something like that. When Blizzard equaled quality. Oh god. I'm getting pain.
Wanted to be like Blizzard. But on the horizon, stormy weather was blowing in, announcing the arrival of evil. House Activision, led by one man, Bobby Kotick. On a rampage, Activision's business model was based on consuming the souls of their enemies. And by this, I mean they would buy out small, struggling game studios and absorb them into the Activision.
I will never forgive them what they did to Neversoft. Neversoft made such good games, man. Oh my god. They acquired them back in I think it was 2012. Or 2014. Yeah, they made Guitar Hero and stuff like that. Yeah, back when Guitar Hero wasn't oh, you have to pay for every single fucking song and then... Yeah, and Tony Hawk. Yeah, they made Tony Hawk Pro Skater as well, you're right.
Activision brand. They were budding development teams with big ideas, and Activision would promise them funding to realize their dreams.
What else can I help you with?
Dude, he's such a villain.
Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Call of Duty. Activision was even making games for a little comic book company called Marvel. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. For now, Activision was a powerhouse in the gaming industry with an insatiable appetite. And Bobby Kotick was on the hunt for bigger fish. Which brings...
Bobby Kotick was never into video games. He was always in it to make money. Bobby Kotick told an anecdotal story in a magazine one time, or in an interview, saying basically he started hustling since he was age 8 or 10. He would sell other kids candy and stuff like that on the playground and tried to make a quick buck. I think he stole something from his mom to make money off of it, and it worked out because he basically gave the money back to his mom or something. I forget how the story went, but yeah, he stole from his own mom, I'm pretty sure.
Brings us to July 8th, 2008. A day that will live in infamy. Bobby wanted to buy Blizzard games. He saw their perfect track record, their adoring fans, and, of course, their World of Warcraft subscription service, which was earning tens of millions of dollars.
By the way, they acquired Activision acquired Blizzard right at the end of TBC, and it shows because the graph went oh no, and then
$1 a month. Bobby wanted a piece. So he approached Blizzard's owner, Vivendi Games, asking for a price tag. Unwilling to simply sell one of their biggest cash cows, Vivendi instead negotiated a merger between the two companies. Vivendi would keep a majority stake in Blizzard, and Bobby would add a powerful piece to his arsenal.
Damn good deal.
Yes, it was, and one that sent shockwaves throughout the gaming industry.
2008. You only started to feel the wrath of Bobby Kotick at a roundabout Cata. It took like a good 2 years.
You what?
Two titans coming together, about to show the world what they were truly capable of. Thus, Actiblizzard Castle was created.
Activision
Their
Blizzard,
first move
yeah.
under their new name was a big one, brokered by Bobby Kotick himself. World of Warcraft was a huge game not just in North America, but around the world, with one of the biggest regions for the game being China. Unfortunately, China is notoriously strict about distributing rights to foreign companies. Activision hadn't had much luck getting around this roadblock, but Blizzard did. World of Warcraft was published and hosted on servers courtesy of Chinese company The Nine. When Activision and Blizzard merged, Bobby was essentially gifted this inroad into China on a silver platter. Unfortunately, The Nine wouldn't be in the picture for very long. The Wrath of the Lich King expansion for WoW had some, well, unsavory content that the Chinese...
Yeah, they have to censor bones and shit. Yeah, they don't like that blood and gore and bones.
Chinese censors didn't really like, and they put a 2-year embargo on the game's release. Eventually, The Nine and Activision Blizzard broke up over the whole situation, but not to worry because they quickly found a new distributor, the Shanghai-based company NetEase. This partnership would flourish over the next few years. WoW would remain one of the biggest games in China.
Man dies after 19 hours of World of Warcraft. Oh my god! Back in my day, people used to die over World of Warcraft, and now they don't. When was the last time you heard of that shit?
And NetEase would help Blizzard develop their games. While things were amicable now, eventually, way down the line, the partnership would take a most unexpected turn. For now, business was booming. The free money machines were printing money, the shareholders were happy with their shares. What more could you possibly want? Oh,
more money.
The well-being of the players. That wasn't on Bobby Kotick's checklist. Ever since the merger, Blizzard had been adding in some mechanics to their games that felt shady, borderline exploitative. First was World of Warcraft mounts becoming more expensive.
I remember the day it came out on Wrath of the Lich King, the Sparkle Pony. It rattled everyone. They were so pissed. They were like, I pay the base game and then I pay the fucking expansions to play the game, and then you want me to pay a subscription and now you're adding more money on top of that? Back in the day, people thought that was unacceptable. Now it's like par for the course, by the way. This is how fucked gaming culture is now.
And more egregiously, providing in-game conveniences. Next was the Diablo 3 auction house, which made it very hard to not spend real money to beat high-level endgame content. These newfangled microtransactions...
I made $200 off of this back in the day. Yeah, I made $200. I sold like, I forget what it was. I think it was a sword. I was grinding that shit. Holy.
We're sketching people out, and it felt like Activision's money-first, fun-later business model was worming its way into Blizzard's game development. As Blizzard North co-founder Max Schaefer put it, they think with their wallets first.
He just said it how it is!
As Blizzard North co-founder Max Schaefer put it, they think with their wallets first.
Yep. So true.
The year is now 2014. Greed was starting to affect the company in very real ways. After a string of poor releases, Marvel opted not to renew their contracts with Activision. At the same time, Blizzard employees were seeing the shift in company culture and looking for opportunities elsewhere. At the confluence of these two rivers was a man named Jay Ong, who left the company in 2014 to work for Marvel Games. At the time, Marvel was, as we mentioned, known for making some pretty mediocre games.
They made some
After all of their work was outsourced and was primarily developed to release alongside their feature films. But Jay Ong had a vision. Although Marvel was still small and struggling, he made the choice to pledge his allegiance to a new kingdom, telling his former boss the Marvel IP needs a better home, to which he received a smug response, "Good luck finding your unicorn." This challenge would prove fateful for Blizzard.
Man.
From here on, Jay Ong began building, brick by brick, a Marvel Games that was about to enter an era of success which it had never seen before. Learning from experience, Jay Ong was driven by one core principle: obsession with quality.
But you know what is actually like the actual lesson from this is that it's actually healthy for people to have competition. Marvel Rivals is the first real answer to Overwatch people have had in like years. I don't think this is a bad thing. That's what should happen, if anything. Yeah, competition is good. It keeps it healthy. World of Warcraft was only made because people started complaining about EverQuest. That's how World of Warcraft became popular.
Jae-ong implemented new strategies, including only working with the very best partners who also cared about quality, removing restrictions which hindered them from making the best games, and giving them creative freedom.
That's good.
In his own words, quote, "They don't have to meet some artificial date. We give them time. We initiate projects far earlier than we used to. Great products require time to make. They
That's
have room to
nice.
breathe
What a nice
creatively."
guy.
In short, people were allowed to try new things, and failure was seen as learning. In the years to come, Marvel Games faced some growing
Holy moly, Anonymous with the 50 freaking gifted. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. The GOAT. Thank you, thank you, thank you. W gifted. W Anonymous. Thank you, man.
campaigns, including flops of their own, but it was part of the process. Jae-ong was fostering an environment where creatives could do their best work, and whispers started to spread of a game-making paradise. Meanwhile, Blizzard was struggling. After the rocky launch of Diablo 3,
Oh my god, error 37. I actually encountered this problem at launch, and I didn't play for 2 months. Or was it a month? No, I was so addicted to, like, Diablo 2, I actually tried probably after, like, a week or two. Yeah, this shit didn't resolve for, like, weeks. Yeah, I was super pissed.
Blizzard had 2 real flops in a row. The
Yeah.
first was the cancellation of their secretive MMO, Titan, which was postured to be the successor of World of Warcraft. Titan's development
Sad.
started in 2007, and over the years, countless Blizzard employees were sent to work on the project. But as the game languished in development hell, blame fell on the execs for not making any meaningful decisions to get the game off the ground. And after
And that's because they didn't have the original Blizzard anymore to respond with, like, to make a new WoW. That's probably why it failed. Like, Jeff Kaplan made World of Warcraft, but he probably need... Again, I don't want to say this, but the power of friendship does kind of matter, even in game development terms, man. He couldn't have carried this on his back alone.
6 years of time and resources spent, Titan was internally cancelled in 2013. The project
Damn.
would ultimately cost Blizzard $80 million, and
Well, it's a
many
lot of money.
veterans who were stuck working on the project
Holy.
were completely demoralized. Following this, in 2015, Blizzard released their answer to League of Legends, but it wasn't the game they wanted to make. They wanted to use the name Dota, which was
Let's go.
based on the Warcraft 3 mod that grew like wildfire over the past decade. But Valve already hired the creator of the mod to make a game like that for them, and trademarked Dota 2 a few
Fucking Ice Frog did the absolute Giga Chad thing. I'm pretty sure the story went something like Ice Frog, the one of the creators for Dota All-Stars and Dota itself, he went to Blizzard and said, "Hey, do you want to make this game with me?" And they said no. So he went to Valve, and then that's how it started, and then the lawsuit happened. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. I might be like condensing it, but that's basically what happened. Yeah, like he actually told Blizzard, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And they said, "Nah."
few years earlier. Failing
Yeah.
legal action to block the trademark, Blizzard was forced to use a different name,
Yep.
thus creating Heroes of the Storm. But the MOBA market was already too saturated, and Heroes of the Storm simply
And also another fun fact, one of the Dota developers, whatever, like one of the original creators of Dota, was one of the people that went on to make League of Legends. So like they really fucked up. They had another cash cow in mind, and then they just shit the bed twice.
could not compete. With the cancellation of Titan followed by the failure of
Wasn't it
Heroes of the
Morello?
Storm, Blizzard needed
could be
something,
wrong. I think it was
anything,
Morello, wasn't it?
to get their wheels back on
Oh, yeah,
track.
Han,
Creativity
you're right.
and morale were at an all-time low,
Also, HOTS could have been so good, and they just completely shit the bed on that too. It was the perfect, like, really casual MOBA. They even had like actual interesting mechanics and stuff. But then they just stopped updating the game because it wasn't like making money.
But with what little they had left in the tank, they decided to give it their all. And it's a good thing they did, because they struck gold.
Overwatch, yeah.
We are compassion.
Remember that? Remember when the first Overwatch cinematic was released?
That
When
was
Mercy
so
came
hype.
down and everyone was like, wow, this is it. This is gonna save gaming. Us too. It was glorious. Overwatch was fun, dynamic, unique. It was
Yeah.
critically acclaimed and won multiple Game of the Year awards. It was a
I
reminder.
can't believe it's been 9 years. That's disgusting to think about. I want to vomit, man. This came out before COVID.
To all of us what Blizzard was capable of, and that they still had that magic in them to create legitimately good games. Then, when we thought it couldn't get any better, they announced the Overwatch League, the first internationally franchised esports league.
Horrible idea. Horrible. They did this with HOTS too. The worst mistake about this whole thing is that they tried to force HOTS as a competitive game. And they actually killed HOTS because they used all that money that could have went into the game, and they killed it because they didn't have money. They didn't have a budget for it. Then they did it again with Overwatch, and that didn't work. And then they're like, fuck. Shit, Overwatch is dying. We don't have any money. We gotta monetize this bitch. And then Overwatch 2 happened.
In history, it was going to be the NFL
Yeah.
of gaming competition. Teams tied to cities, fans wearing jerseys,
So
players
bad.
flown all over the world to compete against each other.
So
there was this
bad.
belief, this energy, that the OWL was going to break the stigma on competitive video games as being weird and bring it into the mainstream.
No, you can't do that. It has to be organic. You cannot force this kind of culture onto the public. Like, again, you can't... Smash, even though it doesn't have a great reputation, it is still something that people talk about in real life. Like, normies, they'll be like, oh yeah, there's like the Smash thing. There's like a world championship for Smash and stuff, and tournaments, and like card games as well. Yeah, even LoL is struggling. League of Legends had one of the highest turnouts as well as Dota, and normies still don't really care about this kind of thing. You can't force it. Of course, gloss over the fact that Overwatch was popularized loot boxes, which reached critical mass the following year. But the public doesn't care about that. Yeah, the public doesn't care about the loot boxes. He's being very, very vague in terms of like talking about controversies.
He even convinced his friends to invest. Guys like Patriots owner Robert Kraft, Arsenal and Denver Nuggets owner Stan Kroenke, NetEase invested in the Shanghai Dragons, even Elon Musk was at investor meetings.
You know what? That actually makes sense. Yeah, Elon Ma wanted his own sports team.
In short, the OWL had legitimacy
Yeah.
from real sports, the backing of multiple billionaires and multinational corporations,
Doesn't mean
and the
anything!
OWL instantly became the poster boy for the upcoming esports boom. For many, it looked like Blizzard just reclaimed their throne, and were ready to take back what they'd lost. But there was one part of the equation that we didn't factor in.
The fans. The fans don't give a fuck. And again, I can't help but think to myself, like, even the most popular, like Dota 2 has one of the most popular championships of all time. Like, millions of people watch it from all over the world. But normies still don't give a fuck about it. You can't force things into the mainstream. It has to happen naturally. They left the casual players in the dust. I'm gonna say something controversial. I think that a game that can't be balanced, like Overwatch, and that doesn't have the care put into it, can't be competitive. It's just not possible.
Bobby's smudgy little
ruins it for
fingerprints
everyone.
all over the game. Despite releasing an amazing game to diehard fans, the game was full of microtransactions, drip-fed content, loot
Oh, yeah.
boxes
Yep.
so predatory they were banned
then
under
Overwatch
certain
2
countries'
happened.
gambling laws. Plus, the insane $20 million price tag to buy an OWL franchise spot was unheard of, and was something only Bobby's billionaire friends would be able to afford.
20 million clams for your own video? No, wait, hold on. How much does an NFL team cost to buy? The average value of an NFL franchise is around 6.5 million. The Dallas Cowboys are valued at over 10 billion. All 32 teams valued over 4.7 billion. Wait, 20 million? What the fuck? That's for you to buy a slot to play, not the team itself. Oh. How much does a basketball team cost? Fuck, I can't get an answer. To start a team, you must submit a $1 million application fee and write an application that the commissioner is under no obligation to review. A team is even more? Fuck! Okay, never mind. Scratch that. NASCAR and IndyCar? How much does a NASCAR team cost? 18 million. Okay, that's more reasonable. As in, like, for 20 million for Overwatch, for something that's not even established. Normies aren't gonna watch Overwatch. 20 million?
So much of the game felt like it was focused on money, and as the months dragged on, it seemed like the devs were more concerned with releasing cosmetic.
I quit playing pretty much around the this Halloween event. Not that I have anything against like this, but I just couldn't take it anymore. They didn't update. The updates became slower. It became boring. Like things became broken, and they would take weeks to fix stuff
than fixing problems with the actual game.
Yeah.
Soon, it became apparent that the golden age of Blizzard was a bygone era. And although Overwatch thrived for many years, many believed the game never realized its full potential.
No.
And sadly, there wouldn't be another chance at redemption because
DOJ.
Blizzard was about to get hit with a series of lawsuits from which they would never recover. In 2017, Blizzard employees, old and new, started voicing their concerns, some in open letters, some to the media, and some in lawsuits describing the work environment.
This was such a farm for Asmon. I was in my depressed state of just basically playing WoW and playing other MMOs and like basically being a fucking incel. And I would basically wake up, maybe brush my teeth, and then go and eat and watch Asmon bitch about Blizzard and them getting sued. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, man, it was a great time, but also depression.
Environment as being misogynistic, unsafe, and similar to that of a frat house. Front and center were allegations against Bobby Kotick himself, claiming that he was aware of misconduct in the company and helped to cover it up, which really shouldn't come as a surprise. There's a paper trail of terrible behavior perpetrated by Kotick, stretching as far back as he's been around. In 2006, he allegedly threatened to have an employee killed. In 2022, Kotick...
Whatever happened to that, by the way? Nothing ever happened. To him threatening someone? Yeah, I don't remember him getting, like, you know, paying anyone out. Nothing because of money. Yeah, like, they just paid him off.
Tried to buy Kotaku and PC Gamer in an effort to, quote, change the public narrative. Anyway, the allegations started piling up, and it eventually reached a breaking point in 2018, when Mike Morhaime stepped down as the CEO of Blizzard.
This was the death. Mike Morhaime was one of the original 3 founders from back in the day. Yeah. Bro, he aged so badly by the end when he stepped down. He's like something like, he was like 48 or 50 when he retired.
After 27 years of service. This was closely followed by several other long-standing Blizzard employees doing the same. This included Overwatch head writer Michael Chu, Blizzard co-founder Frank Pierce, and someone who will be very important later on in the story. His name was Ray Gresco, a seasoned veteran at Blizzard who served as chief design officer and the head producer for Overwatch. He was recognized for his pivotal role in lifting the Titan team from a slump, inspiring them to transform into a powerhouse group that ultimately brought Overwatch to life. His departure meant one of Blizzard's great leaders was now no longer with the company.
That's pretty big,
With two of Blizzard's founders out of the picture, the future of the company hung in the balance. Meanwhile, none of the legal troubles stuck to Bobby Kotick personally. And despite board members being aware of his inappropriate behavior and voicing their concerns, Bobby had a clause in his contract that made it very, very expensive to get rid of him. So they just let him stay on as CEO. The gates of Blizzard were wide open, and no one was around to stop him. His first decree as king was layoffs. Major layoffs.
This was right... I think this was right after Legion. Yeah. Yeah, they cut 800 people out, and it was mostly customer support, too. Yep. That's when it all fell down.
Nearly 800 Activision Blizzard employees were terminated, and almost overnight, board meetings were dominated by sales and marketing execs rather than creatives. It was so bad that a few years later, Jeff Kaplan, the lead director of Overwatch, left the company after butting heads with Suits over his vision for Overwatch 2. He wanted more time to develop the game's PvE and wanted to ensure that he was creating something new and innovative for this.
We need to protect Jeff Kaplan at all costs. For those that don't know, he was also one of the big reasons why WoW, like World of Warcraft, became a thing. He literally he quit playing EverQuest and said, "Fuck you, I'm gonna go find a better MMO and work on that," because he hated EverQuest so much. There is an original forum post from EverQuest with his name. I think it was like Tiger Kaplan or something. I forget what it was, but basically he's cussed them all out in the forum post and said that, yeah, it was Teagle. Yeah, sorry, Teagle. He cussed them all out just like a real gamer would. He was a real gamer, man.
Sequel of one of the biggest games of the decade, but he was told that it wouldn't be financially viable to delay development. So he ended up leaving the project altogether. As the clouds over the kingdom darkened, those fleeing the chaos—
Hold on, I gotta share this with you guys. Whoever came up with this sheer fisting of an encounter can go fuck themselves. Do me a favor so I don't waste my guilt's time on this kind of jackass shitfest again. Send me an email at teagle@legacy.net when you decide to A, implement an encounter that wasn't designed by a retarded chimp chained to a cubicle. Bro, he was one of us, man! I'm telling you, they don't make game devs like this anymore. I love Jeff, genuinely. I know that he was angry here, and he was probably, he was like a 20-something-year-old. He was just like us back in the day. He was pissed that he couldn't play the game. And he went off and made World of Warcraft. Forum ran from his EQ days, man. Ugh. Sorry, it's just so funny to read.
Sought refuge in unlikely places. Some went to other companies, some started their own, and although hope was fading for these wandering souls, a new era was beginning to coalesce. In 2018, Hamilton Chu, the executive producer for Hearthstone, was saddened by the fact that he was spending more time talking to shareholders than working on his game. Stuck in a funk.
And it showed, because Hearthstone was really, really good at the start, and it was a really great game with a really great direction. And then by the third expansion, it was all about fucking ripping your fucking wallet out of your fucking back pocket and giving it to the shareholders. I stopped playing. I kept quitting and coming back from playing Hearthstone, but I finally called it quits when Ongoro came out. Because I was like, damn, I have to spend $150 to make a new game? Fuck that. I might as well buy real cards at that point. Because at least a real card set, even if it's just like a really basic one, doesn't cost $150. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. It was that expensive back in the day.
he received a phone call
even
out
know
of
what
the
it
blue
is now.
from an old friend. It was Mr. Jay Ong, the ex-Blizzard exec we mentioned earlier, who is now the head of Marvel Games. In this phone call, he basically said to Chu, "If you leave Blizzard, you can find a home at Marvel." Chu quickly relayed this message to Hearthstone game director
Ben Brode quitting killed Hearthstone, man.
Ben Brode. They began daydreaming about starting something new, something which would allow them to get back into the heart of game development. That's not to say they didn't love their jobs. When describing Brode, former Blizzard engineer Brian Schwab said, quote, "He would have stayed on Hearthstone until the sun death of the universe. That's how much he bled Blizzard."
I love Ben Brode. He's such a wholesome guy. Legitimately one of the most wholesome people in video games. He would make like little promotional little ads for Hearthstone when the new expansion comes out, and I would love watching those because it genuinely, like, it oozed. Like, again, this isn't like an in-person kind of thing. Like, I'm not there watching him do the recording, but it like oozed love for the game. It made you want to play because he thought it was just the best game on the planet, even when it was dying.
But these creatives were forced to conduct marketing strategy meetings and create shareholder value instead of building awesome games. And when that happens, well, people won't stick around for long. Brode and Chu
Sad,
departed
dude.
Blizzard in 2018 to start.
He has a pizza special menu stuck behind him, and his— oh my god, what is that? Is that— does he have manga stacked on top of it, of his CRT? He's manga stacked, and then he has his monitor. Dude, he really is one of us. I'm telling you, man. They stopped hiring people that actually care.
People won't stick around for long.
What a
Brode
big
and Chu
picture, man.
departed Blizzard in 2018 to start their own gaming studio. And it was a big deal. The hype surrounding Second Dinner was a turning point for many reasons. The first is that Jae-Yong wasn't kidding about making games for Marvel, and in a few short years, the team at Second Dinner would release Marvel Snap, now one of the biggest Hearth games in the world and a direct competitor to Hearthstone. The second—
I'm so sad I'm not into Marvel, like, as a studio or like as a franchise. Because people say that it's a pretty fun game, but I just can't get into it because I'm not like a diehard like superhero fan. Yeah, I'm really jealous that they got Ben Brode.
is how they got funding to start up. Right out of the gate, Second Dinner received $30 million in investment
Yeah, I don't care
from
about
NetEase.
Marvel, but I get it.
That NetEase. This was problematic for Blizzard. Not only was NetEase their Chinese publisher, but they also developed games for Blizzard like Diablo Immortal. To invest millions of dollars into ex-Blizzard employees for them to create a game that was in direct competition with one of their biggest IPs
pissed.
was a blatant attack to their partnership and would irreparably damage their relationship. And it wasn't the first time that something like this had happened. Also in 2018, NetEase invested $100 million into Bungie, the creators of Destiny 2, a game that was, at the time, on Activision's catalog of games. In 2019, NetEase signed a contract with Marvel to create a series of films, comic books, and of course, video games, creating Marvel Super War and Marvel Duel over the next couple of years.
Yeah, but didn't Marvel Duel suck? It was just a freaking mobile game.
Plus, it didn't go unnoticed that this
Yeah.
Marvel contract was kind of similar to the one Activision lost back in 2014. But why would they do this? In the years leading to their fallout, the Chinese government was cracking down on video games, banning children from playing on weekdays, as well as imposing new regulations for publishers to follow. NetEase was cited as, quote, feeling the pressure, but Activision was passive at best when it came to meeting these guidelines.
Not my problem.
Requests for information on revenue? No. Tell us about your business operations? No. Help us
No.
out even a little bit? No.
No.
To Activision, this was some sort of ploy from NetEase to get more money out of them. To NetEase,
Oh
it
my
was
God.
disruptive and threatened the whole partnership, and all of it was
No.
made significantly worse by the conduct of Bobby. Many at NetEase alleged that he was incredibly difficult to work with, not just as a business partner, but personally as well. Simon Zhu, president of partnerships at NetEase, following a particularly bad meeting, said, quote, developers and gamers will have a whole new level of understanding of how much damage a jerk can make. Tensions came to a
Can I just say something really quick? There was always something bad going on behind the scenes with Blizzard Entertainment or Activision Blizzard. But at the end of the day, nobody talked about it because guess what? They made really good games. It sucks. I don't like the fact that people got harassed back then, but like this only started happening when Blizzard wasn't pumping out like bangers constantly. Yeah, nobody gives a shit if the product is good. Yes, I don't want to be mean. I don't think it's right. I don't want people to like get harassed at work or like, you know, smacked around or get overworked and stuff. But like at the end of the day, I don't think customers truly care if the product is good. Yeah. Same thing happened with Ubisoft. Really? It was going on for a while, but take a guess when things started coming out during Ubisoft. Oh, Ubisoft only started coming out with bad news when their games started sucking? That's crazy.
Head in 20.
We should do that for streamers. Yeah. Like when streamers go bad, like what actually happened behind the scenes.
2022, after a mistranslation during a meeting where Activision felt like they were being threatened. Soon after, the partnership ended, meaning at the start of 2023, Blizzard games like World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, and Overwatch 2 were no longer available in China. Understandably, people didn't handle it well.
Now I understand!
And then the divorce got messy, and even messier. However, no longer burdened by this toxic relationship,
Wait, so you just can't play WoW in China, period? I remember this. I do. Damn, that's kind of... I feel bad. I remember seeing a bunch of people... You can now, previously. Oh, it's back? Okay, hold on, I'm gonna check. Can you play WoW in China 2025? Yes, as of late 2024, WoW is back in China after a previous dispute. Contract dispute. Okay, so it's back. Basically, it's been really recent, yeah. Yeah, that's fucked up, but you know what? Yeah, China's good to money, good to pass up. Bro, how much money they probably lost over those 2 years is probably really sad.
NetEase was able to focus on developing a new game, one that would fill the hole left by the abysmal release of Overwatch 2 in 2023. You guessed it, Marvel Rivals.
Ooh.
This was the hero shooter fans were waiting for. After the success of Marvel Snap, news that a free-to-play hero shooter using the Marvel IP was under development had basically the entire gaming industry frothing at the mouth.
My ass is I got goosebumps right now, dude.
The art style was right out of a comic book. The characters looked amazing. The gameplay was oddly similar to Overwatch, but with more characters, more complexity, and way more players. In its first month, Marvel Rivals grossed more than $130 million.
Holy crap.
Not bad for a free-to-play game. It surpassed 10 million unique players, peaking at nearly 500,000 concurrent players on Steam at launch, and has kept that momentum months later, still averaging hundreds of thousands of unique players to
And that's on Steam alone. Imagine what it's like on Xbox and PlayStation. Yeah, that's insane.
this day. But that leaves a question. NetEase and Marvel Games joining forces was...
This is a lie. We were all very skeptical when we first showed, but then everyone changed their minds when the alpha launched. Yeah, I was skeptical. Yeah, I will not deny that. I did actually do that. I said that it looked very Overwatch-like. Before the game came out, it wasn't the alpha, it was just like a preview. What does it say? And then the alpha came out and people were like, you know what, this is pretty fun. Again, I'm not super into Marvel Rivals. I was a big Overwatch fan. My stigma is like, I don't really care about superheroes. They're cool, but like, I mean, I don't know. It's not for me, but I appreciate that there's a option for people to play. But at the same time, I'm glad that it happened. I want them to succeed.
Big, but who are the actual people who made it all possible? The first name that comes to mind is Ray Gresco.
No way! What? He works for them now?
The head producer of Overwatch 1 we mentioned earlier, who left Blizzard in 2019.
A lot of missing out on Peak. I don't give a fuck. I played it for like 2 weeks and then I got bored. I'm just saying.
After his departure, he started a video game
You play,
consulting
good for
firm
you,
called
man.
Blue Silver Studios. One of their
Wow.
clients is listed as Disney,
Oh,
as in
no.
the owner of Marvel Games. And in 2024,
Oh.
Gresco was appointed as the Senior VP, Head of Product and Development for Disney Games. Given the uncanny resemblance of
Wow.
Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, it's hard to believe that Gresco didn't bring some of that creative Overwatch juice to his consulting with Disney. But
I
the person
bet.
that really was the mastermind behind it all was Jae Ong. He had come a long way since leaving Blizzard in 2014 and is now one of the big players at Disney Game. Throughout the years, his
Wow.
drive to foster an awesome work culture won the trust of ex-Blizzard veterans and NetEase. And who knew a focus on creating great games instead of just profits would end up making you profitable. So, what should we make of all this?
Na, na, na. Cinema.
Blizzard just took a lot of hits. By October 2023, Activision Blizzard was acquired by Microsoft for $75 billion.
Cinema.
Their ruined castle was just repoed and moved to the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington. And Bobby Kotick? Well, he was somehow able to convince Microsoft to buy it all. And he was so beloved by the new company that they paid him $400 million just to step down.
$400 million just to leave. They didn't just kick him out, man. Bro, how many yachts did this guy buy after that? Probably a lot. Probably it was 5. Yeah. You can't kick him out? No, that's what I'm saying. It's fucked up how it works, but at the end of the day, Bobby's winning. We live in Bobby's world. Yeah, Bobby's world. Winners win. Oh my god, man.
Bobby came out of this with what he loves most.
Yeah.
Money. But with nothing left to prey on, he
That's all he
spends his
cares
days
about,
sharing
man.
conspiracy theories on how unions were the reason for his downfall.
I can tell you exactly what happened. So the Communication Workers of America, because they started looking at technology, they kept calling the Department of Affairs. Because
Holy yapper, man.
The government agency, the EEOC into a company because we pay well against with great benefits.
Holy yapamole.
Disney, Marvel, and NetEase have built an amazing partnership. And all in all, Marvel Rivals looks like it's here to stay. They have
I'm scared about the Disney connotation, though. I'm gonna be real here. Disney is such a monster, but maybe they're gonna leave them alone. I don't know. We'll see in the future. I hope they don't shit it up, but
the player base, they have the investments, and they have an amazing team that cares about the community and regularly releasing content. With Bobby out of the picture, NetEase and Blizzard rekindled their partnership, and in 2014, games like World of Warcraft returned to China. As 2025 unfolds, it's uncertain what awaits the gaming industry. Everywhere we look, the corruptive power of greed continues to infiltrate great
Corpos.
kingdoms. But as long as there are heroes that stand for quality first, there will always be hope for great games to come.
eh. Record-breaking profit. Better kick everyone out. Yeah. I mean, didn't they fire some Canadian studio? Yeah, like it really wasn't that bad, was it? Haha. Down. Go check out Action, man. What a great video, man. It was the US branch. Was it? I thought it was the Canadian one. Well, it doesn't matter. Western people lose. China W. They fired like 8 people. Really? Were they that useful? Did they actually do anything? It was 6 people? Yeah, I remember reading that headline and thinking to myself, like, was this really that big of a deal? Yeah. They were contractors? Aw, it was Ben Brode, man. Bro, this guy is so hype, man. Hold on, I gotta show you guys this. This is the guy that's working with Marvel instead of Blizzard now. He's so wholesome.
Greetings. My name is Ben Brode.
Let's head over to Stranglethorn now.
There
There we go. Wonderful. This adventure is nuts.
Created by
His laugh was infamous.
Oh, the tragedy.
He's so happy.
I think you maybe got the better deal on
God,
this.
old Hearthstone was so
kind of a
good.
humble guy, but after winning here today, do you think you're the greatest Hearthstone player to ever live?
Yeah, I mean, usually, like, okay.
Nefarian.
He's so happy. Oh, I don't know, man. I feel like his kids probably have the best dad ever, man. He has so much like love and like imagination inside of him, man. Yeah, Nefarian, dragons, Stranglethorn fail. His laugh is iconic.